Hey, coming up on today's podcast, the exciting world of Ford patents. We're going to discuss a couple of those that Ford has just recently revealed. How the dealership dinosaur might go away quicker than you think. How a fan-based car has just driven up an exciting piece of news about DeLorean. And also, it looks like GM wants more money from you. All of that coming up right after this. Everybody, welcome into the podcast. Jay here, and my good friend and co-host Keith over on the other side of the desk there. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
I need all the rescuing I can get, man. Oh, boy, we got a show full, chock full of information.
Hey, Jay. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
You're bubbly. What's going on there?
Well, I'm drinking bubbly, actually.
Wow, that's weird. Okay, I called that one.
Not bubbly, but bubbly.
Not Mikey
I like
Bubbles.
that. I'm big on sparkling water. I like sparkling water, especially with a little twist of lime. It kind of makes me feel like I'm having a cocktail, but I'm not. I'm just hydrating.
See, it's like I do that and it's the tequila's missing. I can't,
People ask,
or it depends if it's got lime in it. Tequila, if it's
yeah, it's a great mix for tequila and that. It has lime in it, and it works. It works very well.
Is it the?
What? It's
Maypop?
bubbly.
Oh, okay.
Bubbly.
Yeah. Okay.
BUBLY. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Not bubbly,
okay.
but bubbly. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
It's a PepsiCo product. So, by the way, this show brought to you by
right.
Bubbly. Yeah. Hey, we're not getting paid for that yet, but I hope they'll hear it and they'll just send some checks our way. So, yeah, a lot of good news going on in the world of the automotive industry right now as we speak, including other things other than just the automotive industry. But you know what we do. If you don't know what we do, maybe you should subscribe to our podcast over at partscounterguru.com. Click on the podcast link, and you can choose any platform you choose, whether it's Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, you name it, we're there. And any video segments that you might hear or want to see from this particular show, which is the Counter Show, you head on over to youtube.com/partscountergurus and make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. That way, when we send these videos out into the universe, you guys will get notified and you can watch it. And if you are subscribed to any of these platforms for us, thank you so much. We are growing.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that dang old internet, man, you just go on there and point and click, get in there and talk about www.com, and you got them naked chicks on there, man. You go click. It's real easy, man.
And
it
by
never
the way,
gets old, does it?
No, it doesn't. And by the way, guys, for all of you, this show today is actually brought to you by Ode de DeLorean, Vintage 85. It is musk and cologne for men who desire to show their chest hairs, gold chains, and drive away from the past and into the future.
Well, that's not fair though, right? Because it's more. Okay, yeah, we need to work on a stereotype for. Okay, who are the vintage the fanboys that are going to be into the new DeLorean? Is it just going to be like a bunch of Back to the Future fanboys? Are we going to go new car? Because this was an Italian designer that did it, right?
Yeah, I'd be looking for the guys with the white rings around their nose, man. They're the ones buying this thing.
What?
Blow.
Oh, John, I'm sorry. There,
Yeah.
I missed
You
your.
didn't get that? Did
yeah.
it go right over your head?
Yeah, first time, man.
Yeah.
So, well, that's not. Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, I guess it is. Okay, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Blow.
So are we gonna? So while we've broached the topic of DeLorean, man,
Yeah.
this is This is weird. This is interesting.
Well, it's their year for the taking.
It's odd. Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it too.
Well, everybody else is sitting around, procrastinating about when they're going to put cars out, and it seems like these guys are just going to just seize the opportunity and get something out there. So tell us the news, Keith. What you're excited? I know you're excited. Oh, which by the way, I signed up for the early reveal. Did you know you could do that?
I didn't. Well, I do now.
Well, now you do. Go to DeLorean.com and you can sign up for a early reveal. So just do that.
All right, here we go.
Yes, I'm ready.
So, man, I've got more questions though.
Yeah.
So, note to self, I got to get on that early list. So, DeLorean has announced on their social media platform,
right?
Okay, Twitter being. See, Jay, I mean, Twitter's been in the news lately for other reasons, but
yeah.
I like Twitter to get information like this because you can get it straight from the horse's mouth, as we've said before. You can go to General Motors, you can go to Ford, you can go to Rivian. I mean, whoever you're following, Tesla, whatever, they'll tweet you information, and you're going to have it as soon as the media gets it.
Yeah, it's an unfiltered piece of news that you're going to get, and it's typically truthful. If not, you'll get another tweet afterwards to say it wasn't or whatever.
So, it wasn't. I see what you did there. So DeLorean has said, in everybody, in less than 30 days, they're going to give us a full look.
Yeah.
At their new DeLorean EV.
Yeah.
Now, let me just get your opinion on this.
Sure.
So
I'm ready.
It doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to be able to buy it sooner, right?
That is correct. I didn't find anything that said that was going to be happening, but that they are revealing this on the 31st of May.
And initially it was supposed to be in Pebble Beach, and it was like September something. Okay,
right.
So they've pushed it up 3 months. Almost 4 months. Now, we pointed out on this program, there was a huge gaffe there because they should have released it on October 26th, which is the famous Back to the Future day, right? So,
yeah.
Why would they do this, Jay? Why would they bump up their full revealing? Because we've seen like rear corner profile of it. We've seen the entire rear end now in shadows.
Well, I personally think that the market is ripe for this, and they're going to take advantage of it. I think they need to get it out there. There's a lot of anticipation. Of course, Keith, you've repeated a number of times on this podcast about how much peer pressure in this industry dictates what we see down the road and or changes that may need to come. This is one of those where a lot of the followers of the DeLorean Motor Company, and by the way, you guys can go over there to it's DeLorean.com is basically all it is. It's pretty easy. And the site is quite simple. There's not a whole lot to look at right now, but it will come. But they have
updated it, by the way.
They have.
Remember, I made fun of them for using like a low res.
Yeah, you did.
Right.
But what we're seeing now, a lot of the information you're seeing, that you see the homage being paid to the original DMC-12, and I think that was their whole goal was to give it, a little bit of love. But I think with the gull wing doors being shown for sure, the light bar, tail light bar across the back, and then the louvers on the back glass back there indicate that it's definitely gonna give some love to the old DMC-12. But we've still yet to see any side profile, any front stance or anything like that. So we really, really just don't know exactly what it's going to look like, other than what we've seen in those market teasers. Now, one thing that I think is pushing this is that they had mentioned that they were supposed to be revealing a number of several DeLorean versions, and it says we don't know if we'll see one or several DeLorean models simultaneously debut, but in early April, the company confirmed that it'd reveal several DeLorean versions based on decades 90, 2000 and 2010 before revealing the 2023 DeLorean. So with that said, they may be running out of time to get some things into production, so they want to get the interest fired up a little bit more so they can start getting these orders. Trust me, money changes the course of everything. If you have the money, the capital to go forward with production, that's a plus, and I think they're trying to drive some of that interest and drive some sales potentially online. And again, I don't have anything to indicate that you can buy it online yet, but I think it's going to be happening pretty soon. They're going to take reservations.
So this is going to be a proverbial fork in the road, right? So
Sure.
You've got, if we look at the most recent kind of big, high-profile auto manufacturers that are EV manufacturers that have done this, you have kind of two models here. You have the way that Elon Musk has done it, and you have, well, I would even put RJ Scaringe in that same basket, where they both came out and announced, here's what we're going to make, and then 3 to 5 years later, and in some cases longer, you get the actual vehicle, like it reaches production status, right?
Like the Cybertruck, like the Roadster, right? Yeah.
And then you go with the traditional manufacturers like Ford and GM who go, okay, here's what we're going to do, and it comes to market like the Mustang, in what was that? It wasn't even a year, and you could get it, right?
I think so. I think it's about right.
The
They did
EV,
well.
yeah.
They did really well with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marketed
And
it well.
GM's, a little bit longer, but not 3 years, right?
Keep in mind, though, Keith, that all started going down well before COVID really hit. So they had a lot of things lined up strategically throughout that whole process. So I think that they already had things spoken for in production, so they could get away with getting that out there pretty quickly. But
Yep.
obviously things have changed since then, and demand is about the same for vehicles out there right now. It's just the supply is really down right now for a number of reasons.
Well,
So-
and that could feed into your whole argument of, hey, somebody's got to take the wheel here, no pun intended. Like, the market is ripe
That's
for
right.
someone. And look, DeLorean's not going to have the pockets that a Ford or GM are going to have for R&D. They're going to have to, and you mark my words here, everybody, at some point, they're going to have more cash infusions once they get closer to production. I just don't see a way around that. I mean, unless they're only going to make 20 of these things. But
right.
I
Well,
just don't.
I don't see them. I don't see them doing that a low number like that. I know that they qualify for that, but I think that they've got a marketing team over there going, whoa, wait a minute, we have got something here.
Right.
And we need to kind of readjust how we're approaching this. You want to save this to when you've got all these other competitors out there. You got the Lyric coming out. You've got the Ford F-150 Lightning coming out. Potentially some of these new Tesla models next year. So if you've got your ducks in a row, and let's say you've got the capability of putting 300 out immediately, I'd do it. I would do it, and I would start taking orders like crazy and just let it fund it, man. Just move along.
Well, and this may not really change anything in their production timeline. They're just promising to move up the first complete look.
Right.
So that's not necessarily in person, right? Like, the in person could still be Pebble Beach. It's literally, they're going to probably show us pictures.
Yeah.
Of that car sitting in a studio somewhere.
Could very well be. And again, remember, they discussed a series of these models coming out. So this one that gets revealed at the end of May, on the 31st, is only going to be one model version of this. And that's the way I understand it. Is they're paying homage depending on traditional years down the back or whatever. I don't know.
As we know, Jay, there are three distinct models, right? There's one that runs on railroad tracks. There's one that flies, right? And then there's their traditional drive on pavement model, right?
Yeah.
That leaves the scorched, burning tire marks. Yeah,
That's the one I want. I want I want the drive on pavement one, man. But I'll buy one of the train ones just in case that James Bond moment I need to get out of harm's way, man.
Yeah.
I'll jump on it. But yeah, I'm excited for DeLorean. I think it's great. I mean, you and I both have been we've been spot on with how the excitement has been surrounding this particular automobile. And the fact that it came out as an EV, when we both said on a prior podcast that if they're smart, they'll make this an all-electric vehicle, and boom. I mean, I'm not surprised that we predicted that correctly. I'm just excited as all get out for this thing to come out. So wait until May 31, guys, and it'll be coming to a computer near you because
Just get it here. Yeah.
I suspect this thing is going to be a dealers to consumer type situation, just like a Tesla is. So, manufacturer to consumer. So there you go.
I hate to say I told you so.
Oh,
So just make sure you're subscribed, and we'll be all over this. I promise you guys. Hit the subscribe button over on YouTube. The podcast is, of course, on our website at partscounterguru.com. Click the podcast link, and you'll find out. Either one of those will get you the info.
heck yeah! Tell you what, come on, boy. Wow, that's there's a lot of excitement out here in the automotive industry right now, Keith, and every once in a while, man, the excitement comes in different forms and shapes, and oddball, kind of out of left field kind of a situation. I mean, I can't, this gives new meaning to the screen door. I mean, the backyard, the back porch, sweet tea. I mean, this is almost redneck.
And here's where it turns into redneck. So we have a couple Ford patents that we brought to the show today. One of those is, this is not April 1st. Last time I checked,
I had to read this twice.
Yeah,
I had to make sure that the source was legit.
Right.
And so I'm just going to let you lead off on this one, pal, because I don't really know where to go with this other than I don't want it.
In true Tourette's fashion,
yes,
Ford applies to patent screen doors for a Bronco. And I will tell you, the old screen doors on a submarine joke comes to mind of the guy
yes.
that we did in Bar Harbor that took his Bronco out on the bay.
Bahaba. Yeah.
and left it there so it became a submarine. Anyway, this is apparently okay. Well, the patent is real. Mm-hmm. Whatever Ford's doing, I'm not sure.
I mean, I think Jeep did a similar patent, but it never came to fruition. I don't think.
So let's take a step back here. So when Ford revealed the new Bronco, they offered a door that had windows in it.
Yeah.
And everybody thought that was cool, and it never passed the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, whatever. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't approve it. So it never went into production from the factory. Now there are aftermarket companies that we saw at SEMA that will make you
wait
one.
a minute. You said doors that had windows in it, not windows.
Yeah.
You're talking just it's got holes in it. It's
not that's a window. You look out it, right?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
It doesn't have glass in it.
Right.
That's what
let's just be clear
off.
on that. It doesn't have glass in it, folks. It's a see-through door. It's basically has holes in it that allows air, mud, water, and gravel and all that stuff to get through.
Do you think Jim Farley wants you calling his Bronco door with a hole in it, or would he rather say when? I mean, I'm just trying to. Yeah. Okay.
Actually, in my opinion, it doesn't really become a window until you install one. I mean, otherwise it's just a hole in the frickin' wall.
Well, then, what do you do with that hole in your door when you push the button to move the glass? You roll your window.
You're rolling the window up. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
it's still a window. You're just rolling it up or down.
Yeah, it's a window. It's glass, right?
All right. I don't know.
So let's terminology for our fans, man. Let's see. It doesn't. It's a door without glass in it that has holes in it that you can see through it, and it didn't come to fruition because it was a Department of Safety. The National Highway Transportation Safety Board wouldn't allow it to happen. But there's aftermarket versions of that out there.
Right.
So That's what I think you were trying to get out. Yeah.
People want, in an off-road vehicle, they want the ability to remove the doors. Jeep's been doing it for a long time.
Absolutely.
You can do it with the current Broncos. I got to see this. This could be a horrible idea and a huge flop, or it could be brilliant, and it's really going to depend on how they implement it.
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting. And they said it was, there's many things to talk about there. There's some deployment aspects of it for safety features, for it to deploy like a airbag safety restraint system. This is through a series of chains and gears driven to put the thing in place or whatever. So supposedly the screen covers all the doors, any opening, that is, okay? And as anyone knows, when you're going through crevasses, real tight crevasses, you can lean that vehicle one way or the other, or if you're on an extremely high pitch entry, or you get jerked around, you hit a rock or boulder, and the arm flies out, and it's basically meant to help keep your limbs in. But they continue to talk about the mosquito aspect of it's good for mosquitoes, just like a screen porch is. Now, where I think that would be beneficial would be like if you're down in, say, Africa or even the tundra in the spring when it thaws because mosquitoes are so bad.
Oh heck, in the south and
Well, but I mean,
Florida,
there are places that this vehicle could go off-roading that screen would definitely be, amazingly beneficial, but you're still getting the air and the openness and all that stuff, but then you got a screen. So I don't know. It's a goofy ass patent, in my opinion.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I got to see it because it could be incredibly stupid, or it could be really brilliant. Can I go on the record and just say this? Yeah.
That I'd like to say to Ford, if you're doing a market study on who would want one of these, I'm one that would not. I have no reason to have a screen door on my vehicle.
Well, and I've got by the way, it's for sale if anybody's interested. I've got an RV that has a lot of screens in the garage area because you put motorcycles in it, you put off-road vehicles in it, and it's designed to have these big giant screens. There's one that goes across the back of the garage, so you have the garage door open, but you can pull a screen across it.
Yeah.
And the other one is on the actual patio. You can put it's like almost like a child. It's about a 3-foot tall screen.
All that makes sense to me.
Yeah, but they're a huge pain to clean. Coming from a guy that just had to deal with all that to polish it up for selling it, those are because it's in the garage. Those are areas that I never spent as much time on cleaning.
Right.
Because the dust and mud and everything that just builds up on them, it's really, really tough. Even just taking a hose and spraying them off, you got to brush them. And so here's my point, everybody. You put these screens on rollers, which it says is part of the patent, and they roll up into the vehicle. You're never going to get it fully clean. It's going to be a mess to try to clean out.
Right. There's a lot of patents that fly around. They never come to life. You'll never see the light of day. Yeah. And what we're talking about now, there may be a completely different option to tackle that need. If you're just trying to use that as some sort of marketing tool to prevent mosquitoes from getting in, come on, man. Just put some mosquito spray on you and be done with it. But look at what you have that's already available out there. Right. Like your race car drivers that have the net that they have to pull down when they come out. It holds them in place. That's what I would think would be appropriate for this. Some way to do that. I don't know. I don't know about screens. Whatever. We'll see.
Now, on the other side of the Ford patent endeavors, we've got something that looks way more interesting and usable, and I'm going to even, dare I say, practical on the off-road vehicles.
I'd buy it. Yeah. I'd ask for it.
Which is, what are they calling this, Jay? Does it have an official name?
Yeah, integrated sand ladders that will, they're basically, they have a dual purpose. They serve as a integrated sand ladder, and they're detachable running boards. All right. So they're running boards, but then you can use them as.
This is the part of the program where I like to slow it down for those of you that are not as versed in automotive language as Jay. a sand ladder, if you take a vehicle off-road like a Jeep or a Toyota FJ or, something less capable, whatever.
Right.
You're going to, if you're really, really going in true off-road areas and not just trails, there's a high chance that you're going to get stuck.
Truth.
And so these sand ladders are used to, if you just think about it, like in the old days, you'd throw a board under the wheel and you'd give it a little bit of traction. I mean, you can use it in the snow too.
Right.
And they have they have some sort of surface on them that's grippable, so those tires are going to be able to basically grab that sand ladder and use it instead of the hole that the tire is sitting in. You
Right.
shove it up as far as you can under the tire. Or in some cases, if you have to jack it up with like a high boy or whatever, and you slide it under the wheel.
Right.
Either way, this is brilliant. Now, I as usual, I have tons of questions here.
Sure.
So, it's got to be able to support a lot of weight. I mean, especially if you're using it on the front axle because you've got the engine up there, if it's a truck or the Bronco. And that means that thing can't be aluminum, right?
No, I think it's going to be probably a fiberglass composite style type material that's super strong. Let's say, for example, like your Trex decks, that type of material.
Okay.
Okay. And I think that would probably be the direction they would go. I don't think it could be metal because metal will bend. It needs to be something that is not only durable but pliable, flexible. That will retain its shape.
Otherwise, you make them single use, and you have to reorder them when you use them.
It needs
right?
to be reusable. So I think that there's going to be some type of really heavy duty grade composite type material that they'll use for. Like I said, the Trex, those boards that they use for your decks, man. Those are durable.
That's interesting.
I don't know what.
Because weight's always a factor, right? I mean,
weight's
it's always a factor.
You'd want to make them light enough to where you could. Also, too, for a number of reasons, weight of adding more weight to the vehicle. But not only that, as a person, let's say you're on your own, you need that thing to be able to be maneuvered into position by one person, if at all possible, because sometimes you're out on your own, and you don't have the luxury of having an extra body around to help you pull those things off. So I would say it would have to be well thought out in that regard. But I do think it's probably one of the most clever patents that Ford has come out with for either their pickup trucks or this Bronco. Who knows? Maybe it's going to go on that new Ford FX4E package that they're going to be coming out with the quad motor tank turn.
There you
thing
go.
On it,
Yeah, it could be part of that. Yeah, I mean, because and again, and we've said this before, the patent shows a pickup truck. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean it's going on a pickup truck. It could be on a Bronco. Those Broncos you can put running boards on them too.
I think there's a lot more going on behind the scenes with trying to figure out how to develop their Bronco off-road crowd. They got to catch Jeep, man. That's the bottom line. And I think how do you do that? You enter the world of accessorizing, and that's it. And that's what Jeep has done very well with marketing to their followers, and not only that, just proving that you got a vehicle that can get through stuff. And Jeep has definitely done that. So Ford is still, they're still new. They're a newbie to it. We'll see what happens.
The amount of engineering that goes into this now, it's not only how to accomplish the primary purpose, but you have to think about stuff like how do you lock these things so people can't steal them.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's kind of come to that. But you got to think about that stuff.
So congrats, Ford, on another good patent there, other than the screen door patent I'm not real sure about. Boomhauer, I'm sure, has something to say about that real quick, if we can get it. Can Boomhauer say something? Yeah. Man, tell you what. Come on.
I'm thinking...
Tell you what you do, you just take them dang old spark plugs out, and in that little hole, you just put a little oil around there, just like Bobby Unser says, it's like it'd go boom, boom, just like that.
There you go, folks. Wow.
It's as close as I can get to running board, sand ladder.
That's good. So go out and get yourself a Bronco today so that you can get yourself a pair of them there running boards autographed by Boomhauer.
I mean, what's next? Pontoons?
You're right. Hey, You never know, man. That's the James Bond mode.
Right.
You know, pontoons coming out, the wheels flip in, and you know.
Yeah.
So, Keith, what's it going to take to put you in that brand new Ford today? What you got in that pocket? Mama need a new ride this Sunday to go to church in?
Man, that's interesting. That's an interesting lead in. And so I don't know if you would probably peg me for this. I don't. I'm trying to decide if what I'm about to tell you that you may not know. Mm-hmm. If you would be like, yeah, that fits. So let's just do a little.
Okay.
I got a story. So, okay. I'm not trying to proclaim myself to be a Jedi master of buying cars, but I've definitely gone through the Jedi training camp. And I think this started, honestly, I wasn't even in my 20s. Like, I didn't have a lot of money. Worked at one point, was working a couple jobs, liked cars. No shocker there, right? And I knew that, I was going to have to pay for that. Like, and I'm thankful they did this, but, my family was always like, with the exception of my first vehicle, which was a give me, a hand me down, but it was like nothing special. I just had to go out and buy what I wanted. And I probably will pass that on to my son. I'm not going to probably just give him a vehicle.
Yeah.
And so, I understood, like, hey man, I was in college, I had bills to pay, I wasn't making a lot of money. I needed to learn how to negotiate to buy a new car. Right. Or any car, a used car, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And I just started reading books, and I started learning, like, as much as I could about the industry.
Right.
Like, how it works, how they make money, the fact that if you finance things, they're making money even on a break-even deal because they're getting paid a commission from the lender, from the lending institution.
Why do I feel like there's a book coming called Car Salesman Tactics?
I own them all, or I used to. Like, I've read all of them, and I kind of enjoyed it. Like, I got to the point where, like, I really enjoyed the battle. Because you know what they do? They in the old days, they get you into the dealership and they just wear you out, right? Until it's like, fine, just put the piece of paper in front of me and I'll sign it. And I would always reverse that. I would just be like, I'm going to wear this guy out.
Well, the ones I hate are the ones that come up to you and say, if I put you in that car today, I'm losing money, right?
Yeah.
I'm losing money, right? What?
One of the proudest moments. And this is when we were dating, but I wasn't married to my future wife. And it was the Nissan Frontier that it was that radical change that they came out with that had that looked like a boxing glove.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I went and I bought one. And I found out, I had a friend that worked at Nissan, and he was like, less than 1% of those trucks that we manufacture had what you wanted. It had the supercharger in it. It had the off-road package. It had, Right. And I got online. This was back probably 20 years ago, and I found one on a dealer lot. And it was one of these deals where I put all of my knowledge to work. Like, I literally waited till, I think it was like December, like 28th. Like right at the end of the year,
right,
or whenever the sales, and I went in at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, I'm totally positioning this like they got to play on my level, or it's the end of the month, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember the guy basically offered me a job after he sold me the truck because he was like, I'm very impressed with you, young man. Like, you never got ugly with us, but you were able to somehow like leverage this. And I'm going to tell you what. And he didn't show me the book, but I saw the book, like their total sales that they had, because they had to have you sign like for every deal they had to get the buyer signature.
Right.
And there was like this was a big Nissan. It was in Rivergate. It was the biggest one in the city at the time, and they'd sold like 3 cars for the day.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah.
And I anyway, all right. So
Catching them at the right time, you can get a great deal.
there's so many things that you can control in a negotiation if you're willing to be patient.
Yeah.
So I've studied that, and I don't know if you would expect that out of me or not.
No, I think I would. You do your homework on just about everything you put your mind to, no doubt about it. And that's a really good skill to have, to be able to get into a dealership and get out of there with what you want, with not overpaying. And that's the problem, and that's why we're talking about what we're talking about here today is the move that's coming in the automotive industry, the dealerships as we know them, Keith.
It's already happening, and
Right.
we have been telling you guys this for a long time.
These guys are dinosaurs.
Saturn tried it 30 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And just pay what. And I would say by and large, the driving forces, no pun intended, right now are like Tesla and Rivian, and these companies that are selling, like you mentioned in a previous segment, direct to the consumer. Right.
Yep. Direct to the consumer sales have actually skyrocketed. Not for the sake of Tesla's out there and such a big impact, or because of Rivian or anybody like that. It is because the fact that we had one of the worst pandemics in modern history that this country has ever seen, and people have to still conduct business. And people found out really quick that you can still sell a car without stepping foot into a dealership.
Yeah, well, I'm watching commercials all the time now that advertise that very feature.
Yeah. And remember when we were trying to, early on, we were trying to find dealerships that would allow us in to test drive vehicles so we could do some reviews on our YouTube channel, which, by the way, everybody, if you've not been over to our YouTube channel, make sure you get over there at youtube.com/Parts Counter Gurus, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and tell some friends and leave a comment if you would, please. Thank you. But we were looking for opportunities to bring to our audience, and I remember calling up, and salesman answers, and I asked him, what's the protocol here? You just basically have to wear a mask, come in, sign a piece of paper, grab the keys, and go roll. I said, well, do I need to set an appointment? Nah, I'm the only guy here. I got you covered, man. I'm just handing you keys. That's it. And that was literally it. That was how simple it was. The difference between the direct-to-customer model that you see with like a Tesla is that you're not physically driving the vehicle yet. I think you can go. Now, I've never been to a Tesla dealership, Keith. Have you?
Yes, because I have a car fan.
Right.
That has literally, every dealership in town knows his name.
Right. So speak to our audience and
it's
tell
like that bar Cheers, Jay, except for kids.
So tell our audience how they differ in that manner. It's more of a showroom, right? It's not necessarily a dealership they don't have inventory, right?
Yeah. Well, they have some, and a portion of what that some includes is things that other people have ordered. And
right.
And Tesla's played around with different models. At one point, they were going to completely close all the dealerships, and then they reopened them.
Right.
It got weird, but.
And then now, when you go there, though, if you were to walk in with your negotiating hat on,
yeah.
Do you just throw your hat out the window at a Tesla dealership because there's no negotiating, right? Negotiating, right?
So it has to happen in other ways. What are you going to do a trade-in? If so, that's always negotiable.
Right.
Are you going to finance? If you are, there's negotiating points in that.
Right.
Rates.
But the MSRP itself, the cost of the vehicle.
Yeah, they're not going to move on that.
That's my cost. And let me ask you a question. When you see the invoice on the car, when you're at said dealership, would if they handed me the invoice on it,
yeah,
am I going to see a $5,000 extra fee on there for dealer markup?
Yeah, well, I mean, and some of it depends on the package, right? Like some of those packages, there's less of a margin on than others.
But no desert treatment coating or pinstriping.
It's worth $5,000. Oh yeah, that's all. Yeah.
That's all dealer markups, right? Well, here's where I'm going with this. Am I glad to see the shift in that industry? Absolutely. And for all of you auto sales guys out there and gals, or just people that work at a dealership, I get it. You're doing your job and you work for ownership, and they're the ones that dictate your policies and how you conduct your business. But I will tell you right now, to me, I think it's a big fraud. I think it's a ripoff. Most dealerships are, as they are today. This is why traditional dealerships like we have here that we're talking about today, with Ford looking to change that
Right.
and go to a direct-to-consumer model.
Yeah.
I think it's very smart on their behalf, because they have figured out that during this pandemic, where demand was supposedly higher than usual, basically the demand was the same, it's just the supply was low. They were marking vehicles up like crazy just to kind of recoup some of their losses.
And that's not hypothetical. That's
No,
because they have told us that.
Right.
Like
It's
they have
absolute-
directly told us they're
It's-
doing that.
It's corruption, in my opinion. It's greed. It's a
Well,
bad deal.
So you have a couple scenarios here that are pros and cons that you've already subtly pointed to, Jay. And some of it is, like, for example, on the Tesla or the Rivian model, most of those people buying those Rivian R1Ts have never driven one, right? And so
Correct.
until it shows up at your door, and at that point, you've already committed, at least on some level, there's been signatures and orders and money has exchanged hands. So
Right.
then you go to the traditional model, if you will, where you would say buy a Ford or a Toyota or GM or whatever, a Honda, and you're going to a dealership, and that's where that part that you despise, because there's a certain amount of gouging that, you know, it's the old adage that, you know, it's like it's not whether or not they will get you somewhere, it's where they will get you, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they've got a million ways. So Ford, and this isn't the first time we've heard them talk to dealers in a stern tone about knock it off, quit messing around, has said a couple things that we think are going to end up leading to some sort of a more direct-to-consumer model. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100% agree with that.
So the first big clue that we can point to here is that they've already come out and said they're splitting the company into two separate business models.
Yep.
Now, there's a lot of speculation going on around how that's going to play out.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be all EVs on one side and all gasoline engines on the other side?
Right.
Knowing that over time, the internal combustion stuff and the diesel stuff is going to basically die out.
Yeah.
And then their deals with dealerships will also die out.
Yeah. I mean, any of that is possible going down this path. I think that the buildings as we know them now in 10 years they'll be there, but they'll be used in different ways. They'll be more of a, you know, just a specific, you know, maybe an accessory, a parts place or whatever, where you can buy accessories or bring your vehicle in for service, and that's about it. Or receive your vehicle once you order one online. And that's the thing, is that's something that Rivian had to deal with when they went to production. They started delivering. They had to have a concierge package put in place, so each individual who purchased one of the R1Ts had a hand holding, if you will, until the delivery had taken place. But they did this not only through, I mean, they were trucking these things across the country, but they were basically borrowing dealership lots in order to make the transaction happen.
Yeah.
And to make it seamless. And that could be a GM lot. It could be whoever they were partnered with. That's how it was working. So that is why I think that the dealerships as we see them today, the buildings as we see them now, they will still be utilized, but they will be repurposed for other reasons.
That real estate is still valuable.
Correct.
That lot. Now, Ford is, okay, so the what are they calling it? The E...
Model E. Model E
okay.
is for the EVs, yeah.
Yep, so they have their Model E business, and then they have their, Blue Oval?
Ford Blue.
Ford Blue.
Yeah.
On the internal combustion side. I think this is just my prediction. They're going to basically transition these dealerships that buy into the Model E side over to basically a handler's fee type deal on the sale of a new vehicle.
Right.
And they're going to structure the business revenue to make the most of their profit on service.
Correct.
Which is honestly a huge chunk of those dealers anyway.
They
right?
want you to keep, me personally, you've heard me say this on this podcast, Keith, I prefer to go to the dealer in a lot of cases because most automobiles today have become so specialized, and or what's the correct term? I'm at a loss for words here. It is specific to that company. It is their proprietary is the word I was looking for. It is their proprietary designs that require they have their own technicians that are trained and certified in that
Right.
specific model
Yeah.
or that specific platform.
And there is a certain amount of certification that had to happen over the Mustang Mach-E, and
Right.
so any of the like the F-150 Lightning that's coming out and all that. So it makes sense. And look, I mean, GM does that on the Corvette side too, and they're doing the same thing on their electric side. And so I think this is going to end up in, and I hate to say this, but over time. Now, I don't think it's going to happen in a year, and it's probably not even going to happen in 5 years, but maybe 10, where most of the traditional salespeople at a Ford dealership are gone.
Yeah.
You have some sort of a person they call like a relationship or a quality experience person, or basically a new your concierge delivery person, whatever they're going to call that.
Right.
And it's that person's responsibility is to basically coordinate delivery of the vehicle, right? To get it from Ford to you, to get the paperwork signed and back to Ford. And I think all the money is going to start going directly back to Ford when you buy the vehicle.
Yeah.
You're going to buy it from Ford. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, all of these manufacturers, Ford, GM, Stellantis, whoever it may be, BMW, whatever, it's return on revenue. They want the return customer, and how do you do that is you provide your customer with a quality service that basically makes them feel like they want to come back to you to have all that service done. Now, in my eyes, what I see these dealerships becoming are little micro versions of what we know as a full service center, like say a Pep Boys, for example, where you
Right.
can walk into Pep Boys and get your oil changed, and while you're having your oil changed, you can get a price for a set of tires. You can also look at the accessories that are available for your vehicle that's having a service performed. All this stuff is going on. In my eyes, I see these turning into that, where you can go buy your tires there, replace your tires, get your brakes done, get your oil changed, go buy accessories for it, shop around. It'll be a great consumer experience. I think that's what their ideal business model will become. Guess what happens with that happens, man? All that profit, all that revenue, it goes right back to the manufacturer. It goes right back to Ford, goes right back to Tesla. That's what I think is the bigger picture here, is you sell the product, and then you lump everything after that as the return revenue from that consumer wanting to buy your tires, the official tire of, say, Tesla or Ford or whatever. So that's my thought on it. I think that's what they're going to turn into, and that might, in fact, impact what we know as the retail auto service centers out there.
But Jay, how am I going to be able to sell you the undercoating and the True Coat, though?
Right, because it'll come with the vehicle, man. The only thing that you're going to not have with the vehicle that you might have to ask for, which we're going to get into soon, are some, maybe some fees that you may have to have if you want to have to pay that you may to
right.
keep things going. So
Let's
there you
take a
go.
toll here.
All right.
I would welcome your comments, everybody. If you're watching this on the YouTube side, please make sure you leave one. Let's say Ford implements this model like we think they're going to, where it's a direct to consumer from the manufacturer, right? But you still take your delivery at a finger quotes dealership.
Right.
Okay. How long until that dealership figures out a way to start sliding in markups? 5 minutes? 5 days? Like for example, do you want the undercoating? Do you want the polymorpho?
They're already
gel?
working on it, Keith. They're already working on it. Trust me.
I mean, it's gonna right,
Just wait
like
for
not
that
even
to
5
happen.
minutes,
Yeah,
right?
No, it's with everything we do. There's always going to be that guy who
Yeah.
comes in and ruins it for the rest of us. Yes, it's already being worked on. Trust me, somebody's scheming already.
But Jay,
we
if
shall
you don't
see.
get this, and you leave your car, you drive it on salt roads in the winter, that whole vehicle's value is up in smoke. And then, your insurance company's not going to give you the full a dollar amount of what it was worth back. So now you're going to have to take out a loan just to pay back the car you owe before you can.
Right.
Does this sound like I'm? Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just say this: I didn't order the True Coat. I'm not paying
Okay.
for the True Coat. Okay.
All
no
right.
pinstriping that I didn't want. Okay.
I'm going to
There
go
you
back and talk to the manager.
All right.
I'm going to need you guys to hang on for a few minutes. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Wow.
How many times have you heard that? Right.
Oh my God.
Holy cow, man! And I've had those conversations, man. It's crazy, Keith. I also hate when I pull into one and before your foot has even left the cab of the vehicle that you're driving,
Yeah.
the guy is like up on you, man, like sidled up to you, and you didn't
Yeah.
even know he was there, right?
Yeah. It's what was that clothing store in the mall that used to do that too? I was trying to tell my son about him.
Oh, I
not
don't
too long
know. I
ago.
don't remember. I don't know if I remember that, man.
It's like you walk in and it's like they had some sort of rule
Swarm you.
that they taught the employees, like if he's in there for 10 seconds and nobody says like, and then they follow you around. Like, is there anything in particular? No, I'm just looking. Well, what are you looking for? That whole nonsense.
Was it not an Old Navy? Nah, because Old Navy's just
No.
pretty
It
much
was in the mall. It was
self-service.
like 90s in the mall. It was like
Okay. Oh God. Yeah.
like maybe like the Buckle or I don't know
Yeah,
something.
I don't know. In the '90s, man, I didn't hang around malls, so there you go.
You know,
I'm
we've
a little bit too old for that.
I've developed this. We both have. I'm on the fence though. I think it's actually it keeps people listening.
Yeah.
But my wife has pointed out it drives her nuts where we come up with these like can't quite think of the name or the word, and
Yeah.
everybody listening is hanging on yelling at us because they know the answer, and we're stringing them all along.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I know we're doing it, everybody. We've been doing it,
but it's not
regularly.
intentional, I don't think. But we just try to bring you the information, and sometimes we're caught in the moment, and that sort of happens. So there you go. We just gave you another one, so enjoy that. So, well, we're gonna wrap up today's show with on that theme of how the automotive industry has changed so much in a way that manufacturers are struggling in ways to try to figure out how to maximize their profits as well as get the return on revenue from you as a consumer of their product. And this is just another fine example of that. We talked about it in previous podcasts, Keith. God, ad nauseum, man. We've talked about it so much, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it's something that I'm not a big fan of, but unfortunately, it's one of those things where we have said over and over again, be careful what you ask for. And this is exactly what you get. Just like buying, an iPhone now. When you buy a new iPhone, you don't get the charging adapter. You have to go buy it.
You're talking about the USB-C to USB-A converter?
Yeah. You don't get that anymore. You don't get that with
But Apple's
the new
always
phone.
done that. They've always been
Well,
like,
I've always
if
at
you
least had a way to plug the thing in. You know what I'm saying?
What about your headphone jack? Got to buy an adapter for that?
Got to buy an adapter for it. That's exactly right. Or buy AirPods, which, by the way, I bought a brand new set of AirPods.
Yeah.
This may be a how-to video as soon as I get through breaking them. But I've only owned them for 2 months, and the one in my left ear will not connect. It's like it's not charging. It's like, but it says it's just.
Call them, man. They're really good about.
I'm going to call them. All right. Yeah, I'm going to see if I can't upgrade.
So Mike, I feel like talking about my kid a lot today, but on this program. But he got the ones for, I think it was for Christmas it was his birthday. Mm-hmm. That's what he wanted for his birthday. He got the AirPods Pro.
Yeah.
And he like literally he'll tell me he's doing this on purpose. He'll put them in his ears.
Yeah.
And he'll put them on ambient listening mode so he can hear everything that's going on around him.
Right.
But he's like, Dad, people think I'm listening to music. I'm not. And then I can hear what they're saying. It's like he just walks around, like.
Oh, no, man.
Yeah, man.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude. Side Shot. We missed Side Shot. We need to get him back on. Where's he been?
He's
He's busy,
school.
huh?
Yeah, it's that thing called school.
life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's life stuff going on. So anyway, so let's get into what GM has proposed. And I do not see this at all being far-fetched and not coming to fruition because I think that it will. There are manufacturers that are already doing this. But I think as technology drives the automotive industry in the direction that it is heading and has been heading for quite some time, again, be careful what you ask for. All those creature comforts and stuff that you like, your infotainment systems and all that sort of stuff, and your internet that you want, oh, man, they cost money. It costs money, guys.
Well, and this isn't the first time in specificity that we have pointed to this and said, hey, auto manufacturers are openly telling their shareholders this is their plan. The Rivian, right?
Yeah, Rivian, yeah. This is, and he, CEO of Rivian, RJ Scaringe, brought that up as part of when they went public.
Yeah.
When, going for the IPO, he basically included that. That was part of the revenue gain. So this is no surprise, but, it's GM says that they're going to go to a model that car buyers are expected to pay, maybe up to $135 for monthly subscriptions for what they use, whether that be navigation system, heated seats, heated steering wheel, Tesla's autopilot, over-the-air software updates, to keep you from having to go to the dealership. They could do over the air.
This has become a theme on this program. Even Apple, like we talked about the Apple Card and the monetization thing with the Apple Arcade, and just how can we go back to that well of recurring revenue from existing customers and get more money out of them every month?
And this is it. This is exactly how you do it.
The issue that I have is a little bit different, I think, than because you and I have talked about this on this very show, but not so different, which is, to me, recurring revenue charges are the enemy of budgets.
Yeah.
It's like subscription fees are the death of, look at like just a couple weeks ago when we were talking about all the streaming channels like Paramount Plus and Hulu and Netflix. And it's like, well, pretty soon you're back up to your $100 a month cable bill, right? Just for the television.
Yeah.
And on the automotive side, the days of buying a car and then just literally once that car is paid for, whether that's the day you buy it or, 5 years later, that's it. You pay for maintenance and, but no, now they're going to try to bilk you for, in some cases, hundreds of dollars a month, man.
Heated seats, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Navigation systems, infotainment. If you want internet in your vehicle, all that stuff costs money. It's and monthly subscriptions. And we saw the techies do this many years ago. And Keith, this being in information technology. For example, when you are looking for software for your PC. That's not you don't drop in a CD and or download it and you're done anymore. It's a monthly fee for that, but there's a lot of good reason for that in a way that they can continue to give you the best available performance out of certain operating systems if they do that. And I think that's likewise on certain vehicles where they can continue to provide you with optimal service out of that vehicle by continuously pushing you updates to that vehicle, software updates and fixes and stuff. That's just kind of where we're at. You see it all the time on your cell phones, whether it be an Apple or an Android or whatever. Updates come sometimes weekly, if not daily, in some instances. I will wake up in the morning and turn my phone on, and all of a sudden I'm watching all of my apps, download. Could be anything, but all that stuff costs money. And again, that's why I say be careful what you ask for. Convenience costs money, and that is why I think you're seeing some of this stuff come to that. And the technology has become so overrun in these vehicles that it's kind of a must, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, so to be fair, there is continued R&D cost, right? Like, so if you put software in a vehicle, you have to continuously patch it. And those of you listening and watching might say, well, why, right? If you make it good at the first time around, you shouldn't have to. That's only true in a vacuum. So if external factors change, for example, let's say it has a cellular antenna in it, but the cellular service changes from 4G to 5G. Or it could be other things like there's a road near my house that's closed for 6 months while they put in a culvert, and, if you're going to update the maps, you got to be able to push that information.
Exactly.
There's all kinds of examples of external forces changing. Charging networks, right? Come and go, right? They get added. Even things like if you integrate Apple Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, if Apple changes their protocol in their latest version on the phones of Apple CarPlay and it has new features, you have to update your car from a year ago to be able to work with those new features.
Exactly.
So again, that concept of sort of building it right to begin with and never touching it only works in a vacuum.
Exactly. And, and to kind of reiterate that fact is that why wouldn't you want it to be updated to a better version if they've worked out and cleaned out all the closets and bugs and all that kind of stuff? I mean, that's
Steve Jobs was famous for selling people stuff that they didn't know they needed, right? Like that was his.
That was his MO, man. I mean,
yeah.
Right? That is where the Apple ecosystem really, really took a leap, as when Steve Jobs had that vision of innovation back then, and it's still to this day, even though Steve Jobs has not been around for a while. It just is kind of one of those machines that kind of runs based on just its reputation and what it's been able to do. They've not been as innovative as others out there, but I think they'll get back on track. But yeah, this is not just GM doing this, guys. But we wanted to bring GM to the forefront because this is not just happening on your Rivians and your Teslas and stuff like that. GM has made that commitment to zero emissions by 2035. The Lyriq is in production, which, by the way, I hope we talk about the Lyriq again coming up pretty soon because that thing is going to be freaking awesome, man. I've seen some shots of that and some specs on it that were recently released. Just wow. I cannot wait to get in one and test drive that thing. So
there is another possible scenario here that potentially is going to come into play. If you don't like the subscription model, it's still a subscription model, but it's a little bit different. If you don't like to be nickel and dimed, so for example, like we joke, but you want to pay for the heated seats, you want to pay for the heated steering wheel. I mean, it's not that far-fetched, you guys. We have a 2017 Lexus, and we're paying $15 a month to be able to remotely start the car, which my wife loves to do in the wintertime and in the hot summers.
Yeah, it's convenience, right?
The feature was built into the car, but they literally disable it if you don't pay this monthly fee.
Just toggle a switch. That's
Yeah.
it, right? It's like turning on your cable when from the main office when you're talking to them on the
it's
phone.
all
It's just kind of how they do it.
Centralized. So this is the scenario that I see may also come into play. I live in the Nashville area, and here in the Nashville area, roughly 10 years ago, might not quite have been 10 years ago,
Yeah.
BMW did a test pilot program where you paid an upfront fee monthly, and you could pretty much drive any car you wanted.
That's
And
pretty
I
awesome.
think you could swap it out every 2 months. And so it was a perpetual lease situation. You paid a monthly fee, a flat monthly fee. And there was a couple cars that were outside the range of what you could pick from. But by and large, most of the cars they made were available. You drive a car for 2 or 3 months. You take it back. Everything's covered.
Yeah.
You don't pay for service. You're not paying for any of the extra amenities, right? Any
Right.
of that extra add-on stuff. You've got the car, right? And
Yeah.
so that potentially becomes an alternative to, well, if you don't want to pay $10 a month for the heated steering wheel and $15 a month to be able to start your car, then just pay us $800 a month, and you can drive any car you want, and you can change cars every 3 to 6 months.
I could do that. That would be
I mean,
fun.
it's, you know,
Yeah.
If you're going to be in this mindset of just always having a car payment, I mean, there's going to be a certain percentage of people that would appeal to.
Yeah, we it's an interesting time we live in, and you bring up a valid point. It's like I have people that were asking, my thoughts on, where we're at now. We're not completely out of this COVID thing, but we're in a lot better shape than we were 2 years ago. That's for sure, as far as dealing with the situation. But the generation, like for example, my kids, and even the ones younger than my children, and my children are in their late 20s and early 30s, they're completely okay with taking an Uber anywhere they want to go. They're completely okay with ordering food online, or clothing, or anything for that matter.
That guy's eating your French fries before they get to your house, by the way.
Yeah. But I'm serious. This is where we're at, and I think that a lot of sectors of business are identifying that need, and are also identifying their own need to innovate and do things differently so that they can stay on the face of the planet. Otherwise, they're going to close the doors and go the way of the dinosaur, just like the dealerships are. So that's my point.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how it shakes out. I mean, as always, peer pressure and consumer demand are going to rule in the auto industry. But
absolutely. Yeah. So good luck, GM. I think it'll work. We'll just have to see. It may not be well perceived, but or well received, I should say. And we'll see what happens. So there you go. Whew. Wow, man. Good. First of all, I would like to see. I don't think our audience really realizes what goes into these things. These podcasts. These podcasts are great. Which, by the way, Keith is the one that really picked out all of the our topics today. We kind of share in that area where.
Oh, you want to give a little? You want to give a little behind the curtain?
Yeah. Just let them know what's
I
going
got a
on.
pretty good dang old idea what's going on. I tell you what, man.
So, we pull from a lot of different news sources, I guess. I would consider them news sources, wouldn't you? Okay. And
live.
sometimes we go directly to the manufacturers. Like we'll just go to GM's media room.
Yeah.
Like they have we have credentials, and we can get into a lot of these. A lot of these manufacturers. We have they have a press website. It's sometimes different than the one you would go to buy a car. And they have all kinds of resources there, and they tell you if there's any big news. Like, they want you to hear about it, so they give you press releases, right?
Exactly.
And then we will also scan the news feeds for content that's interesting. I mean, it's not always automobiles. Sometimes it's floating hotel rooms or space lasers or monoliths or, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And
or even Boomhauer.
Yeah. And so, or Beavis and Butthead, what have you. And we basically create a running list that we both can just see in real time. And then usually a day or two before the show, we narrow that list down because, there's a limited amount of time we have to record these. And sometimes it's rock, paper, scissors. Usually it's a conversation of what do we think would be the most interesting to our listeners.
Exactly.
Sometimes family members send us stuff and they're like, do you guys know about this? And 99% of the time we go, yeah, we reported on that 3 months ago. Thank you for not listening.
Right. Can we get a subscription, please?
But there is that one time in, every 5 or 10 conversations when somebody throws something at us and it's like, oh, this is new. Jay, check this out, and that happened recently.
Yes, it did. So we welcome that. That's why we want your comments, everybody. That's a good point you bring up. It's like, make sure you guys listening to this that you go to our website, partscounterguru.com, and just leave us a comment. Or if you're watching one of our videos over at youtube.com/partscountergurus, make sure you're subscribed. Leave a comment there. We always ask for comments on it because you might get mentioned on. We have a segment that we've created called the Mailbag, which we feel is very important to our listeners for us to follow up on stories that we have done and to share the comments and just kind of where you, as the listener, where your head is at, and that's fun. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some of those heads are in not good places. But but look, and we always try to, I think we always do, give the credit to the source, as best we can.
We try to.
If they want to be named, if some of them
Some may not want to be named, right? Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it. That's basically
how it
how we
goes
come up with content. Now, when we do trade shows and that sort of stuff, it's a little bit of a different ball game. If we have an idea of who's presenting and when they're presenting, we try to go to the ones that we think are going to be heavy hitters. And some of them don't tell you what they're going to, tell you until they tell you.
Right.
And it just becomes show up and find out, and then we have to figure out which ones deserve our eyeballs, right?
Yeah. And, this particular show is one of those shows that we had a few things in there that, it was kind of immediate. We're looking at it going down the list going, okay, yeah.
If it says DeLorean, it's, I'm like mashing
absolutely. And that was a no-brainer. We know that. But, that's just kind of how it works. And just give, hats off to Keith today for the brunt of this stuff, it was of his finding. Again, we do both share that load, but there are certain shows that after we are finished, I'm like, wow, boy, that was a good one. And this is one of those shows. I got that good feeling today about it. So we hope you've enjoyed this podcast, guys. And if you are subscribed to it, thank you so much. And please tell other folks to subscribe. We're only going to get better and continue to do this because you're listening. And that's it, bottom line. So you got anything you want to take our audience out with today, Keith?
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that dang old internet, man, you just go on there and point and click, get in there and talk about www.wcom, and you got them naked chicks on there, man. You go click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
I just am not going to get tired of that. I just am not.
That's the best, and it's very fitting for today's show. So,
all right, everybody. Thank you, Jay. It's always great to hang with you when we can. I look forward to whenever our next conversation is. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
And until then, you guys, thank you for making us a part of your lives, usually weekly. Here's some words from Henry Ford. Coming together is the beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. For my pal Jay over there, I'm Keith. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one.